It's Weird Medicine, the first and still only uncensored medical show in the history of broadcast radio, and the longest-running show on this channel. I'm Dr. Steve with my little pal, Dr. Scott, the traditional Chinese medicine provider, who gives me street cred with the whack alternative medicine assholes. Hello, Dr. Scott.
Hey, Dr. Steve.
This is a show for people who had never listened to a medical show on the radio. If you got a question you're embarrassed to take to your regular medical provider, or if you can't find an answer anywhere else, give us a call at 347-766-4323. That's 347-POOHEAD. Visit our website at drsteve.com for podcasts, medical news, and stuff you can buy. I can't mention contractually. Most importantly, we're not your medical providers. Take everything you hear with a grain of salt. Don't act on anything you hear on this show without talking over with your doctor, nurse practitioner, physician assistant, pharmacist, chiropractor, acupuncturist, yoga master, physical therapist, or whatever. All right, Dr. Scott, very good. Everything going okay at simplyherbals.net?
Doing pretty well, thank you.
I have a new crop of lion's mane coming.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I did a new substrate. For people who don't know, lion's mane is a mushroom that has neuroregenerative properties, apparently, and it seems to have really helped my peripheral neuropathy quite a bit. And Dr. Scott and I filmed what I thought was going to be my last performance of a piano piece ever, and I only got through 2/3 of it because my neuropathy was so bad. I'd like to start practicing it again, maybe try to do the whole thing, because I think I really think I could do it now, which is just testament to something working.
Yep.
But anyway, so I've got a new batch of lion's mane coming.
Well, you made a tincture and gave me a bottle of it.
Yeah.
I loved it, yeah.
Yeah, you think it did anything for you?
I think it does. I mean, I think it's helpful. And, I don't have neuropathy like that. I deal more with, like irritable bowel kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think calms that down a little bit.
Really?
To be honest with you. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, you got to figure it's all nerves.
Well,
it really is. It's
That's
just
true.
Nerves.
The gut has a nervous system. It's called the second brain.
That's right. It's an emotional system. It's a very emotional system.
Yeah, that's true. Well, remember that is it Mariko Aoki? Is that the syndrome? Do you remember we talked about that?
No, I don't.
Okay, hang on a second. Mariko Aoki phenomenon. Let me read this to you, because somebody asked me about this the other day. I think it was Tracy with an I on YouTube.
Okay.
Mariko Aoki phenomenon is an expression referring to a sudden urge to defecate that is felt upon entering bookstores.
Oh, I remember that. I do.
This phenomenon is named after Mariko Aoki, a woman who described the effect in a magazine article published in 1985. According to social psychologist Shozo Shibuya, the specific causes that trigger defecation urge in a bookstore are not yet clearly understood. Well, Seinfeld did a whole episode on that, where George took that book into the bathroom.
Right.
They made him buy it.
Oh, God. Yes.
There are some who are skeptical about whether this particular phenomenon really exists at all, sometimes discussed as an urban myth.
Mm-hmm.
But, again, how many times have you known that you probably had, needed to defecate at some point, and then you get close to the house, and then it gets worse.
Right.
And then as you get closer and closer to the actual John itself, it gets worse until you're almost, having an issue.
Almost, yes, almost in peril.
But your brain knows, and then the enteric brain knows. It's like, okay.
Yes. It's very interesting. But, they've said for years that irritable bowels and a lot of gastrointestinal distress is really a lot more emotional than it is. Because we used to tell people don't eat seeds and don't eat nuts and things like that, because that would irritate the lining of the colon.
Yeah.
But
they were worried, too, that people with diverticulosis, those things would get stuck in there.
Yeah, sure.
Because they're relatively indigestible. But we have pills that are like that, too.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, the gastroenterologists all tell me that's bullshit now for diverticulosis.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And they used to tell you, especially like if you had ulcers and things of that nature, to eat really bland diets, eat potatoes, and none of that stuff works.
It's the worst thing you
it's
can do.
the worst thing you can do.
Carbohydrates.
Yep. Yeah. So what's really interesting, I think, with the lion's mane and some of the newer research on these edible mushrooms, not the psychedelic mushrooms, but the edible mushrooms, is that they really do have some great ability to calm the nervous system down.
Yeah. Well, they're more complex than so many of the other the other small organisms are.
Right.
So it's really interesting, isn't it?
Well, I think a lot of it's because they growing underground, they pick up a lot of extra nutrients, maybe.
Well, that
an herb might get that's above ground. I don't know.
I've heard this mycelial network thing. I mean, I'm not a mycologist, but that's trees and other things communicate.
Yeah.
And when I say communicate, it's not like they're like, how you doing over there? It's more just, hey, there's a threat over here, get your immune system cranked up or whatever.
Yeah. Or hey, it's getting ready to get cold. It's cold up here in the top of the trees.
I think they would know that, but anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the largest living thing on Earth is a fungus that lives underground.
Yep, that's my understanding too.
Acres and acres and acres or square miles.
Like an underground subway system.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is amazing, isn't
Yeah.
it? But anyway, yeah, so they're pretty fascinating. I'm not surprised that they have some medicinal properties and that have been at least looked at in the medical literature and had some positive data. It's not all great. I mean, it's hard to fund a double-blind, placebo-controlled study on a mushroom that anybody could grow. The drug companies aren't really interested in that. The funders aren't. So you have these small sort of observational studies. That's the problem. But I can say with an N of 1 that I can tell a tangible difference.
And that's huge for you.
Yeah, it is.
It's nice to be able
That's why I'm growing them again.
Yeah, fill your fingers and toes.
Yeah, it is. It's nice.
It's kind of important.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, so I've got that going.
At least I got that going for me.
And what was the other thing we were going to talk about? Damn it.
We'll talk about, speaking of mushrooms and psychedelic mushrooms,
Yeah.
Phil Lesh.
Oh, yes, very good.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Kind of a nice transition into...
Yes, very good, Dr. Scott.
Thank you.
I'll give you
Yes.
sort of
myself a bell.
and then
Get your hand off my face!
so
Oh, there you go.
yeah, Phil Lesh, bassist and founding member of the Grateful Dead, died. He was 84.
84, yeah.
I always think of those guys being young, even though I know Jerry's gone. And,
Yeah.
yeah. So what happened to him? It said he was originally a classical musician, played violin and trumpet, and then he in the 60s met a guy who was playing the banjo,
Yep.
named Jerry Garcia.
Yep.
And do you remember the name of the rock band back then?
Were they called the...
I'll give you a bell if you get it right.
hang on. Well, it was the Jug Band was Jerry's original band, and then their first band were the Warlocks.
There you
The
go.
Warlocks, yep.
Oops. Oh, I tried to give you
The Warlocks.
All
Yep.
right, there it is. Yes, exactly right. The Warlocks. And Lesh did not play the bass, but he already knew how to play, orchestral stringed instruments. So really, it's almost trivial to go, if you're a classical musician, to transition to the bass, particularly electric bass. Now, the string bass, there's a lot of technique involved in getting the intonation right. But even that, a violinist should be able to make that transition.
Yeah, sure.
So,
Violin and cellist, too.
Yeah.
Those guys.
Yep. And so, Garcia wanted him to play the bass. He didn't play. He said, what the fuck? So,
Why not?
Why not? And that was a fateful, pivotal decision for his life.
Yep.
The Grateful Dead was born.
Yeah, and he certainly made a lot of great changes to playing the bass and added extra strings.
Oh,
and,
God, yeah.
and all of the effects and things of that nature.
Yeah.
He was quite.
He really was just the perfect
musician.
bass player for that band.
Yeah, because he could play every kind of music.
Yeah.
Imaginable. That's hard to believe still that Jerry started out as a bluegrass picker.
Yeah.
And they had a jug band. And
It's not, though.
Kinda-
That's hippies back then just thought all that kind of stuff. Like, if you
cool.
listen to R. Crumb, Robert Crumb, he was the underground cartoonist.
right. Yeah.
He did, keep on trucking thing and all that
Okay.
stuff. And
Got it.
he had a band,
Yeah.
the Suitcase Serenaders. And they played that old kind of kitschy 20s jazz kind of stuff,
Oh, yeah.
and
That's good stuff.
had singing saws and, steel guitars and stuff like that. It was, and I've been on the street seeing sort of people that you would think are sort of, modern hippies playing old brass band jazz stuff, from the 20s and 30s.
Yeah, that great stuff just keeps coming back.
Well, yeah, because there's something about it that's like, well, that's sort of it's sort of hip now all of a sudden, and it was hip back then to be a hippie and be playing, Americana.
Yep. And
because they admired people like Woody Guthrie and stuff
Woody
like
Guthrie
that too.
and Doc Watson. They were all huge fans of Doc Watson. And
I had a friend. He's now deceased, sadly, who taught Doc Watson his first chords on the guitar when they were both at the North Carolina School for the Blind.
Oh my gosh!
His name was Paul Montgomery. He was the greatest jazz pianist that no one's ever heard of.
Oh my gosh! And he was blind.
Yeah, he was blind.
Holy cow!
Yeah, he used to do a show on WRAL-TV called The Uncle Paul Show. And at the end of the thing, they would say, okay, now we're going to march. And they would just march around the studio. All the kids would get, and they would just march, and Uncle Paul would just march around in a circle. I don't know if any of that still exists on YouTube somewhere, but if you can find WRAL-TV Uncle Paul Show. And odds are I did video or camera.
Oh, my gosh. About what year would that? Just roughly what year? 70s?
Okay, yes. So I graduated college in 77, and I went to medical school in 82. So it would have been, I was there from 77 to 79.
Gotcha.
And I did all the coaches shows, Jim Valvano. I knew him.
Jimmy yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I knew him during the,
it
was before the cardiac pack business.
Yep.
But while he was, and I knew Norman Sloan too.
Oh my gosh!
And Mike Krzyzewski. Wow. Now, of all the ones that were the most gregarious, it was Dean Smith. He would come in and go, "Hi, I'm Dean Smith. Hey, good to meet you." And he would meet everybody on the crew. He should have been a politician.
How funny! I could see that Dean Smith. He looked like he kind of acted like a politician.
We only had him for 1 year. Channel 11 got him after, before and after. But there was somebody in our company that knew him, enticed him to come over.
Wow.
But what that meant was I had to spend the night, Saturday night at the studio, because I had to be back. We did a show at, after show.
Okay.
After the game.
That's right, after game. Yeah,
and then we would do the Sunday morning shows.
Oh, wow.
Well, if I went
late.
home, I lived an hour away from the studio.
Oh, geez.
So I would go home, maybe get an hour's sleep, and have to drive right back. So I just spend the night at the studio, which no one ever said, wow, hey, great job.
Hey, thanks for doing
bro.
this. Thanks for doing this, buddy.
That's why I went to medical school. Seriously, I got so tired of getting yelled at by people who were stupider than me.
Yeah.
And you hear me, Paul Pope? Just saying.
He drove you to medical school, that bastard.
Yeah, no, good. Thank God.
But yeah, I agree.
Thank God.
I agree. I would have loved to have met Jimmy Valvano. I bet he was a nut, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a nice guy.
Yes,
he
seemed really nice. Yeah.
He was just a nice guy.
Yeah.
Krzyzewski, I never spoke a word to him. He never looked at me. Nothing. Never any attention to the crowd. But I never was offended by that. I just always thought that he was, shy or whatever. Now I would say he was maybe a little bit on the spectrum. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, that's how you would say it now.
Sure. That makes sense.
But he would talk to the host. He would come in, sit down, talk to the person interviewing him, and then he would leave and never spoke to any of us.
Yeah.
Valvano was kind of between him and Dean Smith,
Yeah.
and then Dean Smith was just all over everybody.
How funny.
How
funny. That's cool. That's a good story.
Yeah, it's fun. There's no story there.
Well, no,
exactly,
I mean
but
those are some interesting characters for sure.
Yeah, no, it was fun. Oh well, I mean, now the coaches. Then I also, through working at that station, met and worked with Ric Flair, Wahoo McDaniel, Blackjack Mulligan, Greg Valentine, Mr. Wrestling Tim Woods, Ricky Steamboat, and I'm missing it. Oh, Baron von Raschke and Mighty Igor, the Polish Prince.
Oh my God.
So, and Gene and Ole Anderson. I forgot about them. So, in other words, I did camera and audio engineering for Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling
my gosh.
and Wide World of Wrestling, which were exactly the same thing, by the way. They had a banner up, and they would just flip the banner around. Oh, yeah, between shows. Why, I don't know, but back then, the wrestling show was a loss leader.
Okay.
So they would pay to put those shows on these channels late at night on Saturday. And so we would do two shows on Wednesday night, and then one was Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, one was Wide World of Wrestling. And, they'd have all the announcers and the wrestlers all, And then they shipped it out to 35 different stations in the Southeast. Around where they would have Dorton Arena and Greensboro Coliseum and stuff like that, where they would do the live shows. So there were 35 TV stations, 2 commercials each. They never did the same commercial. So we had to do 70 commercials every Wednesday before we did the show. So you had to do them like this, You couldn't mess around because it was those commercials where the announcers, tonight in Dorton Arena, a Texas chainsaw match with Wahoo McDaniel. And then they Wahoo McDaniel, Blackjack Mulligan, if you're listening. And of course, he's listening. He's sitting right there. It had to. You couldn't do 70 of these things without all of them being in the room at the same time.
And then you do the same thing for the next
yes, and then,
venue, the
so
next
we'd,
venue, the
we'd
next
do,
venue.
Exactly.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah, they do two commercials for each, and they would insert them into the show to get people. So they would set up all the conflicts on the TV show, and then they would resolve them at the live show.
Wow.
And that's where they made all their money, was in filling these coliseums with people.
Oh, man. That's funny.
Yeah. The crowd that would come to the WRAL show, it was free, and some of them would come every week. I remember there was this old guy who had no teeth, and he would sit there right in the middle of the crowd on the bleachers, and he'd yell like that. He's just always yelling at the bad guys. And the foreman, the floor manager, he would call them all Rhodes Scholars. He'd say, "Well, here come those Rhodes Scholars." He was floor manager at a TV station at Raleigh. He wasn't much in much of a position to make fun of them, but. Here come the Rhodes Scholars. So one week he brought a bag of peanuts like in the shell and gave them to the guy with no teeth and said, "Here you go." And the guy was like, "What am I supposed to do with these?"
Oh, that's awful.
It was awful. We were assholes. I mean, it was the 70s, at late 70s. Nobody was an asshole.
Yeah, I was going to say they're all assholes then, I guess, one thing.
But anyway, we got off topic. Paul Montgomery, and he taught Doc Watson how to play, and Phil Lesh and them were fans of Doc Watson. So I guess I'm I'm 2, 3 degrees from Phil Lesh then because of that.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, isn't that wild?
Yeah. If you guys find any videos of Paul Montgomery, I've never really looked, but if there's any of him playing piano, I've never seen anything like it. I begged him to just teach me.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And to be blind and to be able to just master the keyboard like that.
It's incredible.
I mean, he had severely diminished vision. He had these big, thick glasses, and he could, if he took his watch and held it right up in front of his glasses, he could just make out the time.
Dang.
That's how bad it was.
Oof.
But yep. So all those guys went to North Carolina School for the Blind, and there you go.
Super talented folks.
Yep. Well, I guess heaven needed a feller that played in a band.
That's right, another bass player.
I hate when people say that
I know.
shit. All right. I did want to talk a little bit about a thing that is near and dear to our heart, and this was recommended to me by Amanda Davidson, one of our mods in the Fluid family. If you want to join the Fluid family, by the way, go to youtube.com/@weirdmedicine and just subscribe, and and click the notify button. You'll be notified when we go live. Follow us at Weird Medicine on X. And if you click join and then click accept gifted memberships, even if you're not there, Myrtle Manus usually gives out a few memberships every show. And you may get a free membership. And I do have some members-only content in there. So anyway, this is a phase 1 clinical trial. So remember what phase 1 means is you're just making sure that whatever you're doing isn't killing people, and maybe you'll get a little bit of data that it might be effective. So you're just looking for effectiveness and safety. Then phase 2, you expand that primarily looking at safety at that point. Then phase 3 is your big trial where you may go from 300 people to 30,000 people. This is pre-marketing. And you're looking for rare adverse events and what's the absolute or relative efficacy of this medication. Is it better than placebo? Mm-hmm. And then phase 4 trials are aftermarket. So once it goes on the market, that's when you find the truly rare stuff, the 1 in 10 million stuff.
Gotcha.
But anyway, so this is current results from this phase 1 clinical trial of a novel vaccine from the Cleveland Clinic were presented at the San Antonio Breast Cancer Symposium. This was back several months ago. And the trial was created to determine vaccine safety and dosage profiles in patients with early triple-negative breast cancer. So this is not preventative. This is a treatment vaccine. Okay. And this was funded by the Department of Defense.
Wow.
I don't know why. So the ultimate goal of the vaccine is to prevent this triple-negative breast cancer. So when they say triple-negative breast cancer, what they're talking about is it is hormone receptor negative.
Okay.
And so if you have breast cancer that has estrogen receptors on it or progestin receptors on it, you can treat that by blocking estrogen and progestin, right? Okay. If it's negative, you don't have that.
Okay, that's
and
not
there's another thing called HER2, if it's HER2 positive, you can treat those. It's usually more aggressive, but it's easier to treat with a medication called Herceptin.
Okay.
So I'm not an oncologist. So oncologists, if I got any of that wrong, let me know. But if it's triple negative, you can only treat it with chemo and radiation. That's all you've got. There's no hormonal modification.
And I would assume surgery?
Well, yeah,
of course. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, it is the most aggressive type of breast cancer. And so what they're looking at is this thing called the retired protein hypothesis. And it's that there are proteins that are produced in the body at specific times and in specific tissues and not at other times in other tissues. Those proteins are overexpressed in some cancers, and they're derived from the tissues in which the protein is normally expressed. So there's this protein, alpha-lactalbumin or lactalbumin. It's made of in lactating breasts, but not at other times or in other tissues. So you only produce it when you're lactating. It's only produced in the breast. In women past childbearing age, it's no longer expressed. It's undetectable in normal breast tissue, but it's expressed at high levels in 70% of these triple-negative breast cancers. So they found that targeting that in mice was effective in preventing breast tumors. So they have these mice that are genetically altered to be at high risk for certain cancers and stuff. They breed them that way. And so they tried this, so they inspired this vaccine's invention. And so they're developing a vaccine against alpha-lactalbumin or lactalbumin. It's albumin, so lactalbumin. That's weird. I've never seen that word before. So I'm not 100% sure if it's lactalbumin or lactalbumin. But they're trying to attack those cancer cells that make too much. And so what the phase 1 clinical trial is looking to determine the dose. So, what's too little, what's too much.
Sure.
And so they'll try different doses and stuff. And then it says more than half of the patients in this trial produced T-cell responses against this alpha-lactalbumin. And so we don't know yet. This doesn't do anything about, it's actually preventing the cancer. All they know is that what they gave the patients was a safe dose, and half of them did produce a T-cell response. Okay. So maybe they give them a little bit more, three-fourths produce the same response.
Okay.
But anyway, they've been studying patients with this early stage triple negative, so stage 1, maybe stage 2, that are completing treatment, but they're at risk for recurrence. And then now they're looking to see if they could use this as a preventative vaccine. So, it says that the long-term hopes for the vaccine or the risk of recurrence can be reduced in patients, and that the risk of getting it at all can be decreased. But they're emphasizing long-term as a lengthy process. This is not an mRNA vaccine. So it's going to take a while for it to be developed. All right? So pretty interesting.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, listen, I'm looking forward to the Star Trek age when we're just prevent all these diseases, and that they're just gone. We beat their asses because they suck. All right, you got anything?
I like it.
All right.
Well, we were going to talk about your you and Liam doing a new
Oh yeah, it's true. Yes. So the reason we're doing this early today is because I have to go to the casino, and because I won a jackpot playing Ultimate Texas Hold'em.
Okay.
And you go, well, how do you win a jackpot? Well, there are these side bets. And I had bet my regular bet, but this time I had bet this thing called the bad beat.
Okay.
And I had also bet this thing called the trips bet. So the bad beat bet works if you and the dealer both have 3 of a kind or better, and somebody wins, as long as you don't push. As long as somebody wins, you get paid on the least of those. So like if they have 3 of a kind and you have a full house, you get paid on whatever the pay table says for 3 of a kind.
Okay.
If you have 3 of a kind and they have quads, you're still only going to get paid for the 3 of a kind, right? So you get paid on the lower thing, but it doesn't matter who wins. If you win or they win, you still get paid. Well, anyway, so I had the dealer had come over, or the pit boss had come over for something, and he was leaving, and I looked at my cards after they flipped over theirs. I said, John, you better stay.
Yeah.
Because I had 4 of a kind, which is a huge, huge hand. And the dealer
Holy
had
cow.
a full house.
Okay.
So I got paid for the quads on the trips bet. I got paid for my original bet, which was 4 times my original bet. And then I got paid like $1,000 for the bad beat bet.
Oh, wow.
And so I ended up walking away from that one hand with $1,500. And then which is extremely unusual, by the way. It was a really nice hand. Probably the one I'll be talking about forever.
My best hand ever.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Yep.
To have quads against that, and they were like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, that's cool.
It shut the table down while they had to figure out, how much they actually owed me and all this stuff. Anyway, it was fun. So they gave me, because of that, they gave me a ticket that said if you show up on this day, which is October 26th,
Yes.
at 2 p.m. and drop this thing into the tub from 2 p.m. until 10 p.m., they're going to be drawing every 15 minutes, and one of the prizes is $1 million. So that's why we're doing this now, and that's why, it's fortuitous that I decided not to go to Detroit, because WATP is in Detroit. This happened after I decided not to go.
Oh, my goodness.
Because I would be so pissed if I was in Detroit right now and they were having this drawing and somebody else won a bunch of money. So yeah, Liam and I are going. Well,
That's
anyway,
hilarious.
So I turned Liam on to blackjack. My son is 21, and he's pretty straight edge. He is fascinated with just the math,
but
and
he loves
and the
numbers,
psychology and he loves numbers.
Yeah.
So I taught him blackjack basic strategy, and then he learned it on his own in a weekend.
Yeah.
And he did 500 hands on a simulator, didn't get a single thing wrong.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, in one weekend.
That doesn't surprise
I still, so I took him to, I said, well, you're ready. And that was the same day I won the quads. He won he took $500 and ran it up to like $850 or something like that. And then took it back down to $700 and then quit, which is pretty good head on his shoulders.
Yeah.
And he's not showed any signs of becoming a degenerate gambler, because, you always worry about that when you turn your kids onto something like that. Well, anyway, the other day I was showing him a website where they have like online slot machines, and they do it through this sweepstakes thing. You buy gold coins, which are fake, they're just gold coins. But when you buy those gold coins, you get a certain number of sweepstakes coins. And weirdly, coincidentally, you get the same number of sweepstakes coins for however many dollars you spent on those gold coins. So if you spent $100 and get 1 million gold coins, weirdly and coincidentally, you get 100 sweepstakes coins, right? And you can trade those in for actual money.
Interesting.
Interesting. So anyway, I was showing him one of those websites, and because they can't use proprietary slot machines like in the casino,
Sure.
right? Because those are proprietary. There are these companies that just make up their own. And I don't know if you remember.
Okay.
I'm older than you, but when we were kids, they used to have these things. They were romance comics. I guess they were designed for girls, and they always have like a pink cover and hearts and stuff, and a guy, walking away, and the girl going, "Oh no, I'll never, love again," and all this stuff. You know what I'm talking about at all? They were comic books.
Yep.
Well, they have a slot machine like that.
Oh my gosh.
And it was hilarious. And we were flipping through this thing. I said, look at this. And like these lips come out and they go like that.
Oh.
And I said, and we were laughing so hard at this stupid slot machine. I said, we need to do a channel where we do one a night. And I'll put $20 in. We'll do it at the lowest thing just so we can flip through. You'll have 20 or you have 100 bets. So you have a decent chance of getting the bonus and seeing what it's like and all that stuff, and just make fun of it or not if it turns out to be awesome.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to do that because he and I are actually opening a gambling school too. And it's not to encourage people to gamble. It's to encourage people to stop losing so much money.
Okay.
Because it's a numbers class, and why can you not beat the house edge no matter what fucking system you come up with? Stop thinking you can beat the house edge on roulette, for God's sake. No matter if you run the numbers, it's always 5.6% house average, no matter how you stack the numbers. Even if you cover every single number, that's how you know. You cover every single number so you can't lose.
Yep.
You're still, when they pay you off, you're losing 5.6%.
Holy cow.
Yep.
That's insane, isn't it?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, those guys, there's a reason they're palaces,
Yes. No, so if you pay 35 to 1 for getting a number right, but you have 38 slots on your thing, on your wheel, then you should be paying 38 to 1, but you're only paying 35 to 1, and that difference is the house edge. Now, yes, you could go in there and pick 24, and they could roll 24 3 times, and you win a shitload of money.
Sure.
That will happen. But the only way that you can keep that money is if you never go back. So gamble with money you can afford to lose.
Yep.
But also what I teach is don't gamble with any money that you're going to be mad if you lose it. You have to be able to laugh at it if you lose. Like, oh, my God, that was effing ridiculous. Or that was stupid.
Right,
And you have to be able to laugh at it.
Yeah, sure. That makes sense.
And, the dealers have even remarked to me, I lost a bad beat on I was Ultimate Poker or something like that. I just said, well, that's poker, because it is.
It is, yeah.
Bad beats are part of poker.
Yep.
If you get mad, if you're Phil Hellmuth, who I admire, but if you just get mad when an amateur beats you because they do something stupid, well, they beat you. I mean, yes, if you played against them for a year, you would take everything they've got.
Sure.
But that's just part of gambling, is what you're doing is you're riding these statistical waves. And when they're in your favor, then, you can walk away with some money. But if you keep going back over all, you will lose to the house edge. That's how statistics work.
Yes.
But anyway. And statistics, oh, by the way, the dice don't have any memory.
No.
Because they rolled 7 3 times in a row doesn't mean that the next roll is going to be anything but a 7. It's the odds are exactly the same.
Still can be a 7. Yep.
You can never say you are on a streak. You can only say you were on a streak. And so one of the things that he and I are going to teach are like craps. Why is it set up the way it is? Why is it set up that you get 2 to 1? If you bet, if the number's a 4 before, and you roll that before you roll a 7. Well, the reason is there's 6 ways to roll a 7 and 3 ways to roll a 4. So the odds are 2 to 1. And craps, that's the only game where they will pay you true odds. Yeah. So that kind of stuff. So we're going to do all that. But we thought doing a website or a YouTube channel where all we do is just review silly slot machines online.
So how is he going to have time to do all that in finishing school? Because
Well,
he's getting towards the end of his.
He is. Well,
studies, yeah.
because he's getting toward the end, he has more time.
Gotcha.
But I mean, he comes home every weekend.
Yeah. Okay. That's
For
cool.
a day, at least a few hours. So we'll just do it then.
That's cool.
Yeah. So anyway.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah, so thank you for bringing that up. So watch out for that. I'll let you know where it is. I think it's going to be Stitz on Gaming, but
Have fun.
I have another channel.
Cool.
So, all right. The Stitz brothers.
The Stitz brothers.
Vinny and I don't know who the other one is. All right. What else you got?
Well, we were talking earlier about the neuropathy, and it got me to thinking about peripheral neuropathy specifically in the feet.
Yeah.
So I looked up a little.
When we
study.
talk about neuropathy, we're talking about damaged nerves causing pain or numbness and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm
Just
sorry.
so-
I took it one step.
That's my
further.
job.
Yeah, but the just thinking about balance, and how many people we have that have balance issues because the nerves are damaged in their feet. And there was a thing on CNN that I saw the other day that was talking about the determining factor, or one of the, not the determinant, but you can get an idea about how healthy you are is in regards to your fall risk by being able to balance on one leg. So they call it the flamingo stand.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the bottom line is
I can't do it. I can't even walk a straight line anymore.
Yeah. See, well, and what we teach a lot in our clinic a lot is stand to sit, being able to stand and sit without assistance, which is good.
I can do that.
Yep. And then a flamingo, so you pick your leg up, and then you're gonna. If you can stand like that without falling down. So the rule of thumb is
69.
30 seconds or longer for those that are below the age of 70.
Oh, okay. What about me?
So you're below 70. So
Okay. Well, I've been doing it a minute now.
Oh, at least, yeah. So
Okay,
you
so I'm
should.
good?
That's a good thing. Can you do on the other leg though?
Oh, fuck off.
Yeah.
Actually, that seems easier.
Doesn't seem as good.
Well, that's weird. Oh, that's because I'm right-footed.
And then 20 seconds for people 70 to 80, and then 10 seconds for those older than 80, and that just kind of helps to determine your fall risk,
Okay.
and B, your overall strength. And then what we'll have people do in our office too is we'll have them practice stand to sit without assistance, which is what you did. So without having to push up with our arms.
Now, from the floor, I
No, from a chair.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I've seen the one where
Floor's no
if you
good.
can do it from the floor, then you're really in good shape. But I can't do that.
Oh God! Well, I've seen actually people
But I
that can do the one leg down to the floor.
Oh, yeah. I think I could do that.
No, you could, and then you would be.
I used to be able to do one-handed push-ups, and I could do the push-ups where you push up and then you clap, in between. I wonder if I could still do that. I'm so out of shape.
Yeah, we're all pretty deconditioned at this point.
I've got to
unfortunately,
do better.
all
right.
We'll make that our mission. But after the
Well, I used to have a friend that I worked out with. Mm-hmm. I can't remember his name, but he was a ham radio operator, and his name is starting to come to me, but it doesn't matter. He and I would challenge each other because we were kind of like bros. We weren't friends. We were sort of, hey, I'll see you. And then we would compete on who could, do the
Curl
max
them,
on the
okay.
curl
Gotcha.
machine and stuff like that. We got to the point where both of us could curl the max on the machine.
Okay.
And that was the best shape I've ever been in my life because it was, not grossly competitive, but just mildly competitive. And we pushed each other.
That's good.
And one of my nurse practitioner partners bought the same bike that I have, and we were going to encourage each other and race against each other. It's like a Peloton. It's the Nordic Track version of the Peloton.
Cool. Yeah.
And we were going to do all that, and she's never got on the first time she bought it. And it's a great place to hang clothes. I'll tell you that. It works really good for that.
It does.
But I am, by God, I put it in a new place, and I am, by God, going to get on there. If I could just get my sorry ass out of bed early enough and do it first thing in the morning, that would be the best.
You know what I started doing this morning?
Tell me.
Cold water therapy.
I used to do that. I'm too lazy.
I went up and sat in my pool this morning before I came over here.
You feel so good when you're done.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
I used to do the cold water plunge.
Yep.
And then go back and forth between the hot tub and that to exercise my circulatory system.
It is. It's extremely refreshing.
Yeah, it is.
There's got to be some science behind it somewhere.
Of
I'll have
course.
to find it. I'll have to find
Well, cold water, true cold will decrease inflammation and stuff like that.
When I saw a little clip the other day, and I didn't get to watch much of it, but evidently, if you the cold water to a certain degree for 3 minutes will stimulate your liver into producing some kind of
bullshitting and get to the question.
some kind of liver. Yes, I'm sorry, some kind of liver enzyme to make you feel better. Okay,
Really?
I'll do some research on
I
it.
want to hear about that. It sounds like
I said,
bullshit.
I just saw a clip.
All right,
questions.
here we go. Yep.